So we go to the start of the Fawley Challenge Cup. We say thank you to Adam Freeman-Pask, and I'm joined now, delighted to be joined in the commentary box by Sarah Cook, who is my co-commentator on World Rowing, and the Australian Olympian is going to be all across this race because we have two crews on the bankside. We're looking at them now. Glasgow Academy, quadruple scull. Each rower has two blades each in sculling, but this is the very distinctive light blue colours of Sydney Rowing Club, Australia. And Brenna Dwignan, Courts and Wells. Robbie Wells is closest to us from Sydney Rowing Club, and Sarah will know a lot about the programme and these young boys. So we can hear
Sydney.
The voice of Matthew Pinsent giving the instructions. We'll just listen to him for a moment and then we'll talk about this race as it goes on.
Go! Get ready, please.
Great to be here, Martin. Very excited for this matchup. Glasgow were one of the seeded crews. Had a fantastic race. Very quick start over Thames yesterday.
Attention.
Up against Sydney Rowing Club.
Go!
Clean start from both crews there. Sydney Rowing Club over here with the relatively new head coach of the club, Donovan Check, the former South African rower, and Lachlan Carter, the development coach at the club. They've brought four crews over to Henley this year. It's the largest contingent that Sydney Rowing Club has ever sent over to the Henley Royal Regatta, and a very strong squad, particularly in the development ranks that Sydney Rowing Club has at the moment. But evenly matched here out of the blocks. Glasgow being asked to fix their steering there. They've just drifted into the middle, but Sydney with the early advantage.
It's fantastic. I didn't know Donovan Check was coaching down in Sydney, Sarah, but you can see the influence of his style. I mean, I do think that the Australian quad, schoolboy quad, sculled beautifully, and we had a fantastic shot there of the stroke of the Sydney quad. Rob Wells, just with his cap on, 18 years and 9 months, guiding his crew to a very handy one-length lead over the Scottish crew. So as you look at them, it's Sydney Rowing Club in light blue. They're one length in front of the boys from Glasgow Academy with the purple blades.
And no slouches in this crew from Glasgow. There are two athletes in there that actually won the junior trials in the double scull in the British junior trials. So we'll likely see them fronting up at the Junior World Championships later in the year. So two very, very strong crews here. It was going to be tough to call which one was going to be the favourite in this race. Sydney Rowing Club, though, had a very decisive victory over Clare's Court School yesterday. Glasgow were a seeded boat as well. They beat Thames Rowing Club very convincingly, so the form guide was a little ambiguous coming into this race, but I expected to see this Sydney crew, Rob Wells, Hugh Courts, Max Dugnan and Max Brenner would be very, very strong, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Great rhythm, great power with every stroke here. What do you make of the technique of that Sydney crew, Martin?
Well, I'm comparing it, I think, to, like, in my head is like the British senior quadruple scull or the Ukrainians, and I think they have a kind of lightness, a touch on the front end, and I'm looking at the Sydney boys and I think I wish I could scull as well as them, but I think that front end could be a little more cultured. They've got a good dry phase of the stroke, Sarah, and you know, to be fair, so Sydney on the left of your screen, and it's the boys from Glasgow Academy on your right. They've got quite an aggressive style, haven't they, the boys from Glasgow Academy? They really kind of aggressively place their blade at the front end. I'm not quite sure how efficient that is, but I'm sure their coach, Ian Summerside, has done a fantastic job with these boys, and it's great to see a renaissance in Scottish rowing really over the last few years. A lot of Scottish rowers now coming through into the team, and we'll see some of them in action this morning.
Yeah, very interesting to see what's starting to unfold here. It looks as though the crews are almost drawing level with one another with the view that we just had. A little difficult to tell from this angle, but it looks very close at this stage. The Glasgow crew with their rate a little bit higher, a little bit more of an aggressive style. The Sydney Rowing Club crew with a little bit more power on board. They're a little bit heavier, coming in at around 13 stones and 7 pounds on average. Glasgow around 12 stones, 4 pounds. So a little bit heavier, a little bit more power in that Sydney boat, and they look just a little bit more relaxed. Whereas that Glasgow crew looking so aggressive as we saw them out of the box yesterday, so I'm not surprised to see them now being tested for the first time in this regatta, that they're still holding that certainly high rating and looking like they're starting to strain just a little bit now as they're feeling the pinch from the Sydney Rowing Club crew, who's still maintaining 3/4 of the boat length lead as they come past the Thames Rowing Club.
So if you're watching this race in Australia, and I know that there are many viewers from all over the world that are tuning into these fantastic pictures from the regatta, good evening to you. I guess it's probably the middle of the night there, but you are watching the stroke of the Sydney crew, Rob Wells, lead his men in the middle of a hard-fought race against the Scots from Glasgow Academy. There to the left of our screen, to the right of Rob Wells's boat, and you can see them there. It's very closely fought. That's the umpire Matthew Pinson in the boat behind. Great shot of the Sydney Rowing Club. Their eyes are in the boat, aren't they, Sarah?
Yeah, looking very focused. They really haven't broken form at all. They're looking definitely like the class crew in this matchup, and we expected them to be strong, but they're certainly starting to make pretty good work of the Glasgow crew, but they're not having it all their way. Glasgow looking very aggressive all the way down the track here, wanting to desperately keep in touch with the crew from Sydney. It's so important in these match races to try and keep fighting, not to let that open water break up.
So you can see how close it is there, ladies and gentlemen. Sydney Rowing Club in light blue, closest to us. The Scots from Glasgow Academy, and they are in touch. This could be a fantastic finish for this race. There's about 300 metres to go. And it's Sydney who have led this race from the start. But what about the pain on the face of Gavin Horsburgh there? And a little look from the man behind him just to put his... He's shouted to his crew, Sarah.
They're absolutely going for it here. They've pumped the rate up. You can see them sucking the air in. Boy, are they in pain. They've done this race the hard way, but they are not letting Sydney run away with it. I think Sydney look more composed, but they need to respond in order to cover this huge surge from the Glasgow crew, who are not going down without a fight. They must be almost level at this stage. It's hard to tell from this angle, but Sydney's still looking very composed. But the bowman, Max Brenner, he's only 16 years of age, the youngest member at Sydney Rowing Club. He called up to his crew. Another look from him. He can see that Glasgow look like they have the advantage.
So we come up to the finish. What a race. I think Glasgow may have gone through, but it could be the camera angle. We'll have to wait and see it pans out. That is a heroic effort from the Scots, if that's the case. Sydney's still at 35 strokes a minute, and Glasgow have the advantage as they come up to the finish. It's Glasgow Academy, the Scots in purple. I think they will take this tremendously exciting. What a sprint finish. They are going to be exhausted. Glasgow do take it. It's deflation for Sydney, but an amazing last-minute sprint led by Rob Wells. He is exhausted, that stroke man, from the Scottish crew. But fantastic effort from all of them, from Glenn, Urquhart, Armstrong and Gavin Horsburgh. The stroke man, Gavin Horsburgh there. I think I called him Rob Wells, but Gavin Horsburgh is absolutely exhausted. Gavin, that was an amazing race, and you used the power of your crew to brilliant effect. So Glasgow Academy take that very exciting heat of the Fawley Challenge Cup. Congratulations.